Welcome to the Top Dog Mindset Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of running a successful dog training business. I'm your host, Kevin, joined by my co-host, Angel. Together, we bring you expert insights, inspiring stories, and practical tips. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, we're here to provide you with the necessary information to build a thriving dog training company. So relax, join us with a cup of coffee as we explore the Top Dog Mindset Podcast. All right, welcome back, everyone. We got an awesome new episode for today. We're going to be talking about something that I think is going to be really helpful for a lot of people, which is your pricing and programs and all that fun stuff. And Angel was kind enough to put together a document here to kind of write down some really important thoughts that she's had and different things she's discussed with our clients that have been really beneficial to them. So, Angel, before we jump into that, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Good.
I
Did you have
got
your
my
coffee date this morning?
got my coffee here.
Good. That's
Yeah.
your favorite place to go to, right?
Yeah, one of them. So I actually a weird thing is I used to get like this specific iced coffee from this place and I started not liking it. And
Okay.
then I one day had like a hot version of it. I thought it was just 'cause have you ever had like coffee syrups and they taste like bitter
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
poisonous-ish?
Yep.
Apparently a hot coffee cancels out the bitterness. So got the same one, just hot, which isn't great when it's like 80 degrees out, but
Yeah.
whatever.
It's a double negative. It cancels it out. It's math and science. It's like,
Yeah.
don't ask any questions. But yeah, do you guys go out to coffee every single Thursday?
Yes.
Okay.
The kids have speech therapy and it's literally right next to this cafe. So I'll go drop one kid off there. We'll go to the cafe. I'll work, and then one of them does their homeschool work, and then the kid comes back from speech, and then I
Ah,
send
okay.
the
It's like a
other
big
one.
shuffle.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, but it helps because they're literally right next door, and then I have work, they have homeschool, they have speech, I need my coffee, so it's just that's pretty much like where the beginning part of our day starts on Thursdays.
Nice, nice. Yeah, we go out to coffee every single Thursday, except for this Thursday, just because I usually have a block on my calendar to go out with Jamie. And then, yeah, I had to take it off and it's like a big thing. But now we're back to getting to coffee every single Thursday. But this is interesting. And I felt like this could actually be a really cool thing to share on this call. Not so cool for this business, but this was just kind of an eye-opening experience for me. So it was actually the coffee shop that we went to the last time you came up here to visit.
Hmm.
Um, it's a nice place. It's like a nice atmosphere, or at least you would think it would be. And the coffee's good. But Jamie and I stopped going recently because it's just like a weird energy when you walk into the business. And the reason I'm bringing this up is just because I've really been paying attention over the last like 6 months to a year, different interactions that I'm having with businesses. I know I've shared on this podcast, like an interaction that I've had with a plumbing company recently, and I'm having a couple different things going on right now. Like we have some work we got to get done to our garage,
Hmm.
and it's absolutely insane trying to get a quote from people. And that was kind of like every time I have an experience like that, it's always eye-opening to me. I'm like, am I doing that? Do we have our own version of this in our business that like there's things
Yeah.
we could be doing better that we're kind of blind to?
Yeah.
But this coffee shop, getting back to that for a second, it's a family owned business, and every time we would go in there, like there was just always like you could like feel like the tension in the air like when you would walk in there, and everyone was always so stressed out, and the woman who runs it is kind of like you can tell kind of like yelling at the staff in the back.
Oh,
And it was so weird, like we just kind of felt like I don't want to start my day like this. I don't want to be
yeah.
here. So anyway, I don't know if you've ever had any experiences like that with any like local restaurants or anything.
I have. I actually just experienced that yesterday, and it is weird when you can like hear or sense, but especially hear like stressful conversations and employees
Yeah.
getting like yelled at. Because
Oh yeah.
yesterday it was an employee getting yelled at, and I want to say it was more like passive aggressiveness too about how she didn't like clean the bathroom correctly. Like
Oh
the
man.
the
That's like giving me secondhand embarrassment just hearing that, honestly.
Yeah. And I was like on the other side of the building too. But
Yeah.
the owner or the manager or whatever, she's like, whoever cleaned the bathroom yesterday didn't really do a good job and blah blah blah. And she was talking to like a group of people, so it kind of sounded like she wasn't trying to single them out. And then the
Yeah.
girl was like, "Oh, I cleaned it yesterday, but I think like there was still people here after I left." And she was like, "Yeah, I know. I went into the bathroom right after you got done cleaning it." it's like you knew it was her and now you just like singled her out.
Oh, I feel like that girl kind of did it to herself though. Like she should have just been like, yeah, I wonder who did that, you know? Who did a horrible job cleaning the bathroom. But yeah, it's just a weird thing because like we'll go there, we'll order coffee, we'll sit down, and the coffee will be brought out to us, and whoever's bringing it over is like, you can tell that they're in a horrible mood, but they're just putting on a smile, and you're just like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be around this, you know?
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah. So it really comes down to just like the energy in the business, and like people like to feel good. There's like this other
Hmm.
place we started going to, this really cool coffee shop called Jackie and Sons, not too far from where we live. And it's just like it's a different vibe. Like everyone wears like cool branded merch in there. They have enough people there, so you're not really ever waiting online. It's young, happy people in there and stuff like that. And it's just like such a difference that compared to the other place where you feel like I might get yelled at if I
Yeah.
don't say the right thing. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to pay $30 for 2 cups of coffee and a scone just to get yelled at, you know?
Yeah, just to leave in a shitty mood.
Yeah, exactly. So, without further ado, let's jump into things. So, what do you have for us today?
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about pricing your services and charging what you're worth as a dog trainer. So I feel like one of the biggest struggles for dog trainers, or at least the people that we talk to, is just knowing what to charge, but like more importantly, feeling confident about your pricing. Um,
Hmm.
Obviously, confidence is a big part of it because you're going to be saying these numbers to clients and being in their homes while you're doing it. Hopefully, you
Yep.
should be doing in-home consultations. But a lot of people undercharge out of fear that like people won't pay or um, you're going to run into a lot of objections. And I feel like it's
Hmm.
easier to just avoid those objections versus learning how to work through them. And
Yeah.
then another thing is feeling like you're like ripping people off or feeling
Okay.
bad that you can't help everyone because not everyone has, that kind of money.
Yeah.
But obviously charging too little can hurt your business, it can hurt your own income and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
that's what we're going to get into, how to set the right prices for your services, for your programs, and especially like the mindset shift that you need to charge what you're worth and actually like feel confident in it. And then also just like some different strategies to raise your prices.
Sweet. I love it. Let's hear all
Yeah.
about it. So, what's the first thing that you want to kind of kick this off with?
Well, the first thing that I want to talk about are some pricing mistakes that people make.
Okay.
So, first one is comparing your rates to competitors. I feel like this is one of the biggest things that we hear, especially when it comes to people struggling with selling people, or just having, an issue in their sales process. They always say, "Well, I'm like the cheapest person around, so I don't know why people aren't signing up," or "I don't know why people aren't signing up or having an issue with my pricing because I called
Yep.
around and I'm not that much, more expensive in comparison to other people." So we always talk to our clients at least about what the standard pricing is industry wide for board and trains and private lessons. And obviously it's going to differ based on like the region you're in. Some places are going to charge higher, some lower, but we talk about like that general number. So I would say it's fairly normal to want to like call around and just see what like the rate is in your market, but you don't want to base your pricing off of that
Yeah.
because you don't know, what's going on in those other businesses or
100%.
what, if they're making good business decisions. You don't know if they have a facility. You don't know if they have 0 employees versus a whole team of like 10 trainers. You don't know if they are, um, you know,
Going broke. That's
going
another
broke.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
like they may be in the red, and they're just
Yep.
like you look at them from the outside looking in and think this is going really well. I got to base my pricing off of theirs, and it's like, yeah, like you said, you could just be making a bad business decision off of their poor decision making, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And same thing the other way around. Like there could be other trainers calling around. They happen to call you, acting as a client to see what you charge. They
Yep.
don't know what's going on in your business. So
100%.
it's understandable to like want to know the general rate in your market, but never base your prices solely on that.
Totally. Yep.
Um, so the next thing is charging based on what you would pay, not what your ideal client would pay.
Oh, that's a
Ideal
good one.
is, highlight the word ideal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a really good one because I've had so many people say this to me where they go like, "Well, I wouldn't pay that much." And it's like the truth is, it really doesn't matter what you would pay because you're a case study of one.
Hmm.
And what it really comes down to is what does the market determine your services are worth? You know,
Yeah.
very, very often do we find that people are actually undercharging. Sometimes people can be overcharging, and the market will kind of tell you that, you know. I think money and finances are a mindset to a large part. Like I think a lot of times people will shortchange themselves thinking that like that's too expensive and that's entirely a mindset thing. But being realistic and pragmatic, there is a certain point where you can't just charge 50 grand for a 4 lesson program. Like, yeah, people are not going to pay that, you know? So I
Yeah.
think you do need to be realistic about it. But again, most times people are on the side of the spectrum where they're undercharging and, not charging enough for their services.
Yeah, and also to add on to what you said, like with people saying, "Well, I wouldn't pay that much." You are
Hmm.
also you are also the professional trainer. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And so imagine someone who maybe a first-time dog owner knows absolutely nothing about training, and they have a dog with a bite history, or they have a dog with so much energy that they can't contain it, and they also have like 6 kids. Their stress level is through the roof. Like they have a lot going
Yeah.
on. I'm sure they would pay it. So you're thinking of it from I feel like or seeing it from like a different lens as a professional trainer, but people do pay it.
Yeah, it's no different than you know how to change the oil in your car and because you're a mechanic or you've spent years working at Jiffy Lube and you can do that in 15 minutes, and
Hmm.
being like, I don't know why somebody would want to, bring their car in and get their oil changed and have to pay whatever it costs now, 150 bucks. And I'm totally making up a number. I have no idea what it costs now. But have other things done like, why would somebody pay to get their windshield wipers put on and get the air filter swapped out and stuff like that. Which the air filter thing, total scam. I'm just gonna put that out there. Like if you go in and they're trying to sell you on the air filter, like chances are you probably don't need it. But I've fallen victim to that and I've been told that, so I figured I would share that with the rest of the world here. But anyway, I mean the point is like you can so easily slip into the mindset of like, I know how to do this. It really doesn't take that much time. It's really not that hard. All I'm doing is giving them a crate training schedule. All I'm doing is giving them a potty training schedule. All I'm doing is teaching them some basic leash manners. And for you, it's so easy to be like, all I'm doing is this. But to them,
Hmm.
it might as well be rocket science. They have no clue what they're doing. And
Yeah.
looking at that again, it's like they might as well be doing brain surgery. They have no idea to even where to begin.
Yeah, exactly. Um, all right, undercharging because you feel guilty. So this is what I was talking about before of like you feel guilty, you feel like maybe you're ripping someone off or
Yeah.
you feel bad not being able to help everyone. Um,
Yeah. Go
yeah,
ahead. I
that's
could feel myself getting ready to interrupt you. So go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say like that's just part of doing business is like not everyone is going to buy. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
get it because obviously at me being a trainer and having clients at one point, I remember being in situations where I would talk to like this sweet old lady or like sweet old man and they live by themselves, just like them and their dog, and they're on, a fixed income and
Yeah.
based on what they're dealing with their dog, like they need a more in-depth program. It's just not something that they can afford. So I get it, but you
Yeah.
can't just base your prices on those people, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah. And what I always tell everybody is you can always do some charity work. If you want to give a program away entirely for free, you can do that. You're the owner
Hmm.
of the business. You get to make that decision.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think what this really comes down to is I've had this conversation many times with clients where they say like I don't have a lot of money or I didn't grow up with a lot of money. And so to me, when I think about my parents, like if someone were to say to my parents when we were kids, like it's going to be $1,000, like that would have broke their heart, and like they wouldn't have had the money to pay for it and stuff like that. And so,
Mhm.
again, I think what that falls under the category of is like, first off, where there's a will, there's a way. Like if you really want to help somebody, you can always, give them a discounted price or help them pay it over a longer period of time. Um, but what I would also tell you guys is there is so much money in this world, and there are so many people that have the money to pay for things, and you need to make sure that your business is taken care of and that your business is making enough money so it can stick around for the long term. If you don't make enough money, I know I've said this many times on this podcast, but I think it's really worth repeating because this is something that comes up time and time again for people. If you do not make enough money, the business isn't going to be around that long
Mhm.
because you're going to come to the inevitable conclusion that I'm burned out. This is not worth doing because I don't make enough money. I'm not able to pay my bills. I'm not able to afford the things I need to afford in my life for my family, my kids. And so you need to make sure that you're taken care of. The other thing is everybody has clients that don't take things that seriously. And what I always think about is like the number one easiest thing you can do in your business to get people to take things more seriously is charge them more money. As soon as they put more skin in the game, I guarantee you they will be more in contact with you. They'll be doing the follow-up lessons in between, doing their homework and stuff like that. And so making money is not a bad thing.
Mhm.
Obsessing over money is a bad thing. People talk about that like money's the root of all evil. It's like no, it's really not. It's the obsession of money. It's making it your god is the thing that makes it problematic. So if
Yeah.
you're doing it for the right reason so that you can make enough money so you can bring in people to hire them and help them provide a nice lifestyle for their family, that's actually a really good thing. If you're
Yeah.
charging people more money because you're going to get them better results and you can afford to buy nicer things for your clients, give them a better experience, that's a good thing. You need to think about this in terms of like, what am I actually doing this for? Is it so that I can deliver a better service to people, or is it just coming from a place of greed? And what I would tell you is like most of you guys, it's not coming from a place of greed. You're actually on the opposite side of the spectrum where you're not charging enough and you're being greedy in a reverse kind of weird way where you're like scared to charge what you're worth. And it's just fear. It's just manifesting as this thing where like you feel like you're going to scare clients away or you feel like people aren't going to be able to afford it. And I saw somebody post this not too long ago that they were like, raising your prices is not going to scare away clients. It's just going to help you attract the right type of clients. And that's really what this comes down to.
Yeah, exactly. And you say that, you can give discounts, you are in control of your
Yep.
business, obviously. You can give discounts, you can do charity work if you see it fit. I
Yeah.
mean, I have done that before. I think it was like mostly in consultations. And I didn't do it often, but it was more so like for like elderly people who are on a fixed income who needed the help, but I knew for a fact that they were not gonna sign up. Um,
Yeah.
then I essentially just turned the consult into like a little mini lesson,
Yep.
giving them some tools and knowledge to at least walk their dog, maybe without being pulled down or something like that. So you
Yep.
can do those things. That actually leads me to the next point or mistake that I was going to bring up is
Hmm.
one mistake that you can make is discounting too often or giving too much free information too
Yeah.
often. So for both of those, I have something I want to talk about for both, but like discounting too often, we always tell people like you can discount, but do like very strategic discounting. You don't want to necessarily have like all of these discounts hidden in all your pockets. And every time you get an objection, it's like, oh, well, I have this discount. And then you get the next objection. Oh, well, I have this discount. Like you don't want to rely on discounts constantly.
Yeah.
Um, but you can have like, again, very strategic discounts, whether it's like you get a discount if you pay in full, or you get a discount if maybe you set like a very specific like seasonal discount where it's thought ahead of time.
Yep.
Not necessarily like just again like whipping discounts out of your pockets at the very last second where you're giving like half off. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yep.
Um, And then the other thing, giving free information. I feel like there's a really like fine line between like offering advice and just like giving them the entire program free. Because I feel
Yeah.
like people sometimes struggle with just giving help in a consultation. I think
Yes.
I think giving help is perfectly fine, giving some advice because like the average dog owner, you're not going to give them like one tip and then all of a sudden they're like, "Okay, cool, I don't need this $4,000 package then."
Yeah, your service really is not that important if you're just one tip away from like getting somebody to not buy from you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if anything, it's just showing that like you truly are there to help them.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but based on everything that they need help with, based on their dog's behavior and like where their goals are, you just need to feel confident that like that one tip you're giving them is not going to solve all of their issues.
Yeah, exactly. What I always think about is I heard somebody say this one time and it stuck with me that you want to focus on the why, not the how. So, why it's important to, this is going to sound very simple, but like why it's important to crate train your dog, why it's important to teach them how to properly, walk on a leash, or why it's important for them to have a recall, why it's important for them to like know the place command and stuff like that, and all the applicable situations in which that's going to be beneficial, not how, right?
Yeah.
The how is like selling them on how you're going to do it is, the analogy of sell them the Hawaiian beach vacation, not the plane ticket. The how is like, here's how we're going to get you to the airport, and here's the Uber, here's how you're going to download Uber onto your phone, and here's how you're going to get there, and here's the gate you're going to go to, and here's how you buy the ticket. I did that
Yeah.
completely out of like the order of events in which it would actually happen, but you get the point. But the point is like you would just want to sell them on like the vision and their dream for their dog. And going back to the pricing thing, a lot of times people get stuck with their pricing because they're selling like one-off lessons and they're selling the plane ticket. They're being like, let's do this lesson and we'll do this lesson and we'll do this lesson instead of being like, hey, here are the results. Here's the end goal. Here's what your relationship is going to look like after you complete this training program.
Hmm.
And that is the beach vacation. That's what people want to hear about. And that's what's going to allow you to charge more money.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, awesome. So, yeah, those were a few like pricing mistakes that I wanted to talk about. So, now I want to touch on a few like different strategies to focus on when like you're trying to figure out your pricing.
Okay.
Um, so first thing, I feel like this should go without saying,
Hmm.
but figure out all of your numbers to calculate like basically like your minimum rate.
Yep.
So asking yourself like how much you need to make per month based on like what all of your business expenses are. Like what are you paying in marketing and insurance and travel and tools? Do you have a whole team that you have to pay? Um, Obviously like personal expenses too, because you also have to pay yourself, but all of those things you have to consider before you figure out like what your prices are going to be. And another thing too, which I feel like people don't often think about is if your prices are priced at whatever X amount of dollars, based on how much money you need to make a month, how many sales do you think you need to make?
Hmm.
Did I just make that sound really confusing? So
No, I get it, but you might want to break it down a little bit more just because we've had this conversation so many times. I feel like maybe try and explain that to the average person who may have not heard this before.
yeah, so if you, let's say you have a program for $1,000, or maybe your highest program is $1,000. This is a kind of a bad example because that is a really low price. But let's say you have your highest program is $1,000,
Hmm.
but you have a goal of making at least 10K a month, just based on
Hmm.
all of your expenses and needing to pay employees if you have them, or your facility, your rent, whatever.
Hmm.
That means that you're going to have to sell at least 10 of your highest program to people
Right.
versus if you were to have your highest program at $4,000, then you might need to make, three
Two and a
sales
half sales or whatever it would be.
or two and a half. I said
Yeah.
three because you can't sell half of a program, Kevin.
Watch me.
Um, but yeah, I feel like that, from what I've noticed, is something that people don't often like think deeply about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, how many programs do I actually have to sell this month? And also,
Yeah.
what is your conversion rate normally? Is that something, whatever that number is that realistic?
Yeah, this is a really good point. I think that like what you're talking about here is like you can make this much more analytical and data-based and just a game of numbers instead of feeling like very emotional about the whole thing, you know?
Yeah.
So two things. First and foremost, going just talking about pricing, it blows my mind. Sometimes I talk to people and I'm like, "How much do you charge?" And they're like, "Hold on, let me pull up my website here and see." I'm like, "Stop
Yeah.
right there, dude. Dude, how do you not know what you charge? That is so unacceptable. That's like not knowing your, firstborn son's middle name. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
how do you not know that? Like you're the one who set them, you know? And
Yep.
so like know your numbers like the back of your hand. There should be no ifs, ands, or buts. You should know those, back to front and know everything that goes into every single program. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is a lot of times people never do exactly what you're talking about, which is reverse engineering a goal, right? So picking your goal number and then thinking about this logically, like what is my average? I sell three programs. Let's use simple numbers: $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, right? My average price per program. We have some people that buy the highest and the lowest. So on average, it's the mid-tier $2,000 program that like most people are buying, or that's our average like ticket price, what we're selling. And
Hmm.
so pick your end goal number and factor that in and be like, how many sales do I need to make in order to get to that number? So
Yeah.
again, I know you just said this, but I just wanted to kind of get very specific about it just because sometimes I say that to people and they're like, "Oh, I never thought of it that way." Like you can make this strictly just a game of numbers, and it gets very, frankly, kind of fun because then
Hmm.
you can really predict what's going to happen in your business, right? Like if you know, hey, this is the average program or the average amount that we sell our average program for, this is how much I want to make, and then you can start dialing in other numbers too, like, hey, this is when I do consultations, this is what I typically close at. And so I know that I need to get this amount of consultations. And you don't think of it, it can be very overwhelming if you think of things in terms of like, this is how much money I need to make. But if you break it down into smaller goals and think about like, this is how many consultations I need to get, which means this is how many phone calls I need to get in a month, which means this is how much you need to spend on ads, you know? And so you
Hmm.
can really start like budgeting for things instead of just like letting it be this big thing where you're like, I don't really know. Some months are good, some months are bad. It's like, no, you should have predictability. This is why companies are able to like to forecast what their revenue is going to be 5 years from now, is because they do all these different calculations.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, all right, so next is price your services or your programs based on value, not just time.
Yes.
So, um, you know, pricing it for the results that they're going to get and the experience that they're going to have and the transformation that is going to happen, sometimes life-changing for a lot of people, versus like, oh, I charge X amount of dollars per hour. And this
Hmm.
also goes for how you're relaying that pricing to clients. Because like for us, like with our clients, I typically do like a programs and pricing call with every single new client that comes on with us. And when figuring out the pricing, you might figure out like, okay, how much are we going to, for board and trains, for example, how much are we going to charge per week? But that's not to
Hmm.
say like you're going to meet with a client and say, oh, I charge X amount of dollars per week. Your dog needs 4 weeks of training, so this is how much it's going to cost. Like you put the program together and then just calculate the numbers
Yes.
there. But like for a lesson, for example, again, you're not charging by the hour, just charge by the lesson. And I know most people do like hour-long lessons.
Hmm.
Sometimes you might go a little bit over. I did. Sometimes it ended up being like hour and a half, 2 hours, but they're paying for that lesson
Yeah.
and they're paying for, again, all of that stuff, results, experience, and your education, your experience, your expertise, the continued education that you've done for yourself. So it's not just you're paying, $200 for 1 hour. You're paying $200 for that lesson for literally everything that I have done over the past 11 years in my career.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. You're paying for the results, not the time.
Yeah.
If you want to sell your time, go get a high paying job, like go get a high, a rate of $20 an hour or something like that, 25 bucks an hour or something like that. But like the truth is,
Yeah.
if you're a business owner, like you cannot think of it in those terms. You want to think of it in terms of exactly what you just said. Like this is all the experience that I bring to the table. And when you sell things by the hour, you're actually really shortchanging yourself and you can become a victim of your own success. What if you're a really good trainer who can get people results in 1 hour, right?
Hmm.
Like you are going to make less money than the guy who's not a good trainer, and it takes him 4 hours to do the same amount of stuff that you did in 1 hour, right? So if you really think about that, like that's an insane way to run your business. Like people should be willing to pay you more money for quicker results. Like don't penalize yourself for giving results quicker. Charge more money and base it off of the end results. Now, some people are like very scared to do this. I know they're like, "Well, I can't guarantee anything." I know we've talked about this in past calls. I'll kind of leave that alone, but um what I will say is like, yeah, it's going to be hard to guarantee results for, you know, dogs that have like a bite history or something. We're not really talking about that. We're typically talking about like more the obedient stuff. And you
Hmm.
should be able to like really guarantee things. Like it's going to be, I'll say this about it. It's always going to be hard to sell things for high ticket if you can't make a guarantee. Because why
Yeah.
else would somebody pay you a lot of money? That's what people pay a lot of money for is they feel like there's a guarantee, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, next is packaging your services for higher sales. So, you mentioned this earlier, but this is basically just like to say not selling like one-off lessons, for
Yep.
example, or not selling like a 1 week, unless you have like a 1 week board and train and it's like a package in itself, cool, but not necessarily like, oh, we'll start with a 1 week board and train. We'll see how things go. We'll add another week if we need to. Like you
Hmm.
package them together just because you can find yourself pretty much always selling those one-off lessons or there's 1 week board and trains because it is
Yep.
going to be easier to sell because you're giving people a lower number.
Yep.
And so people are going to, jump on that like, oh yeah, I'll pay $200 versus paying $1,600 or whatever the price is.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, obviously like some trainers can be like, oh, well, I only need one lesson to be able to teach this dog to walk nicely on a leash. Yeah, I'm sure you do, but take other things into consideration. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like um, how well maybe the owner works with a dog or how well they pick up on things. Are they receptive? Are they going to need additional help to kind of like clean up and proof things that you worked on in that one lesson? And also, you always, or you don't, not always, you don't want to leave it up to the client to diagnose their issues and then choose what program they're going to go with. That is the
Yeah.
whole point of the consultation is to evaluate the dog, not only evaluate the dog's behavior, but get like on a deeper level of like what they're really dealing with. And I've talked about this in previous episodes too, but I talk a lot about like what is your lifestyle like? What is your day-to-day schedule like with your dog? What do you do when your dog does this? So I get into it on a deeper level because then I start learning about things about the client and their family, their lifestyle, and their dog that
Hmm.
they never told me. But I know it's an issue or it could turn into an issue. So then I upsell them,
Yeah.
you know. So
Absolutely.
so yeah, that's just all to say package your services versus selling one-off things. We do have
Yeah.
some people who still sell one-off lessons and but I feel like you just have to be like really good at your sales process to be able to do that so you don't get in the
Yeah.
habit of selling one-off
Exactly. You got to use
stuff.
that as like I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like almost like a last ditch resort type of thing where it's like, hey,
Yeah.
because there are going to be people out there who like, love it or hate it, kind of want to like just dip their toes, and
Mhm.
be like, let's do one lesson. And so we have clients that do it because they're like, all right, well, if you want to do one lesson, I'm going to charge you for it and I'm going to charge a good amount of money for it. And what I'm also going to do is use it as an opportunity to build a lot of value and make you see all the things that we can do differently. And you will, it's basically another consultation and I'm going to sell you on a program at the end of that, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was gonna say too, is like upcharge it.
Yeah.
So that it's kind of like an incentive for them where you're gonna actually save money if you just purchase a package.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You said something before that I always think about the analogy is like nobody goes to the doctor. I'm sure people do this. I'm sure people actually do this all the time with like WebMD and they're like self-diagnosing, you know?
Yeah,
But you shouldn't be going to the doctor and like having broken your leg and be like, I think what I need is like I just need like some Advil and for you to like wrap it up and just like do that and we'll be good. You know, it's like they're gonna be
yeah,
like, no, you need reconstructive surgery. You shattered your femur, you know?
yeah.
And so what I always think about is like dog trainers kind of do their own version of that where they let people pick and decide almost. And it's like, yeah,
Hmm.
you want them to feel like they are the one making the decision in the program they're purchasing. But what
Yeah,
you really want to be doing is like subliminally planting ideas and guiding them into the program that's going to help them the best. And tell them that,
yeah,
like, hey, this is the program from my professional opinion that is going to be best for you guys. Here's all the reason for that. Here's all the stuff we've talked about today. Blah, blah, blah. This is the reason you want to do this program and sell them on that program. Don't let them be the one who decides. They have no idea what they're doing. They don't know how to train a dog. That's why you're there. They have no clue what they're doing. Letting them make the decision as to what they need to do for their dog is a mistake.
exactly. And I've been in that situation too, where like the owner is essentially telling me what to do. And I mean, I've had situations where I've had to basically like have a conversation with the client by saying like, in better verbiage than this, but basically saying, I'm not going to do that. And if that's what you're, demanding or requiring, then maybe I'm not the trainer for you. But like you reached out
Exactly.
to me, I'm the professional, this is what I recommend. I feel like the biggest thing that I noticed with people doing that or with clients doing that is when it comes to the tools being used. And that
Yeah.
usually just tells me that like they weren't explained good enough about the tools or they weren't educated good enough and
Yes.
to feel comfortable about using the tools.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
That's
that's a really
very
good point
important.
too. What I always think about is like when somebody does that to me, first off, it's just funny because like people think that like they have all the leverage and it's like, this is one of the benefits of growing your business is like you're like I don't need to take on your work, if we don't want to do it like yet we have enough work that we can kind of decide the type of clients we want to work with. But what I always do is just put it right back on them and just say something to when somebody tells me like I need to do this, this, and this, like this is what I want you to do. What I would just say to them is like, hey, John, like, let me ask you this. Why am I here today? Like do you feel like what you've done, like you're telling me what you want to do. If you're so sure that this is what you want to do, like why haven't you done it? You know? And I think what they'll say to that is it'll probably be very, very eye-opening. They may have such a big ego that they're just like, I just don't have time to do it, and I don't want to do it, whatever, and I just want someone to do it for me. That's one thing. But if anybody has any sort of self-awareness whatsoever, what they'll probably say is like, well, we've tried some different stuff and it's not working. And then you can kind of like relay that into like in a kind way, saying to them, like, hey, listen, I can understand that you have these ideas and we can incorporate some of that into the training. But with all due respect, you called me out here because you need help, right? And if I'm going to give you my help and we're going to do this, like there's certain ways that we need to do this. And so like you need to find a way to take back control and make them kind of see like, dude, you need to stop being such a control freak. Like you need to let me do my job.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's really well said. Don't be afraid to take control. Don't be
Yeah.
afraid to tactfully put your foot down.
Yeah. People need to be led. Like I was listening to somebody
Yeah.
talk about this the other day. Being a salesperson is very much so like guiding people and helping them make the right decision. And sometimes that means like frankly like dragging them all over across the finish line because they want to do it deep down, but that's just their procrastination or
Mhm.
it's just their fear and they're trying to like manipulate and control every little piece about the program and what they want to do and don't want to do with their dog. And so you're doing them a disservice by letting them behave in that manner. You need to interrupt that and make them see like, hey, there's a different way that we're going to do this. And this is why it's going to be successful.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so I have one more thing to touch on, and that'll kind of like close out this episode for today.
Cool.
I think this is more so like a mindset thing. Well, I mean, pretty much everything that we talked about today is a mindset thing, but I wouldn't necessarily say this is part of like a strategy for, setting your prices.
Yep.
But people pay for what they prioritize. So if you're getting a bunch of objections surrounding like the pricing or people just saying that's too expensive, or if someone calls you and within the first 3 minutes you're giving them the prices and they're like, oh, okay, that's too expensive, or I'll think about it and I'll call you back. They're not going to think about it because they've had 3 minutes to get information. There's not much to think about,
For
first of
sure.
all. But that just means that they don't see value in
Yep.
you or your services yet. Um, so like, obviously people like spend thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars on vacations and, weekend getaways. I just went on a little weekend getaway and it was like a reset, perfect reset that I needed. But, someone doing like a weekend getaway, that's not going to be life changing and getting rid of their dog's shitty behavior. But
Yeah.
that's just like one of the examples. People will pay a lot of money for things that they see value in, or, hobbies
Yeah.
or cool gadgets or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. People pay a
So
lot of money for stuff in life.
yeah, so bottom line, people pay for what they prioritize. People pay for what they see value in.
Hmm.
So I think like that's the main thing when it comes to price objections, is they just truly don't see the value in it yet. Some people aren't going to have just $4,000 to slap on the table for you, but if they have an issue and it's important to them to get fixed, they are going to find a way.
Yeah,
They're going to
100%.
figure out how to pay.
Yeah, that is the bottom line, I would say. Everything you just said. It's like people do not see the value.
Hmm.
If they're just price shoppers, you're thinking you having that thought, like everyone's just a price shopper. It's like it is on you to get them to stop price shopping and think of it in a different regard, you know?
Yeah.
Again, what it comes back to is like if everyone else is the problem, if no one's serious and takes their training seriously, nobody wants to pay money for this, nobody wants to do this or that, it's like then you actually need to look inward and be like, what can we do differently to make this more appealing, get people to actually be held accountable, do what they're supposed to do. So yeah, I
Yep.
mean, again, for me, all it comes back to is focus on selling them on their goals and their dreams with their dog. That's what's going to allow you to sell higher ticket programs.
Yeah, for sure.
All
But
right, cool.
yeah, that's all I've
Anything
got
else you
for
want
you
to add in
today.
for the call today?
That's it.
That's it. Okay, cool. All right. Well, listen, I hope this was helpful for you guys. We're trying to get creative. This podcast is obviously so heavily driven by helping people grow a dog training business and staying on the dog training business side of things. But there's only so many different things we could talk about here, marketing and sales. So if there's different things that we've said and you want us to go more in depth, let us know and drop a comment in the comment section or send Angel or an I a message and let us know what you'd like to hear about. And we appreciate the support as always. And we will see you guys very soon in the next video. See you guys.
Yep. Bye, guys.